What's going on, everybody? Kalipis Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you 5 reasons to buy the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G in 2022. Now, this is pretty much the highest end phone in the Samsung Galaxy A series, and while it's unfortunately not officially launched in the US, it's still not too hard to get, and you can get it factory unlocked pretty easily, but in general, this is definitely a really nice phone, especially considering it's more of a budget option. So I'm going to be giving you 5 of my favorite things about this phone to help you decide whether or not it's a good phone for you. So my first reason to buy the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G in 2022 is the processor. Now with this phone, we're getting 8GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 778G 5G processor. So this is a really powerful processor, again, especially considering this is more of a mid-range phone. For your daily activities like web browsing, social media use, streaming content like videos and music, and all kinds of mobile gaming, this phone is going to get the job done real well. And if you're on your phone a lot, you're definitely going to notice the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G is pretty fast for just being a mid-range phone. Now I did run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone, and it came back with a single core score of 773 and a multi-core score of 2888. Now if you're not too familiar with this test, this may not mean a whole lot to you, so what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then comparing the scores to these to see whether or not this phone will be an upgrade for you, because depending on what you have right now, it may or may not be. But in general, I will say this is pretty fast compared to most mid-range phones, and even when you compare it to some of the entry-level and older flagship phones, like for example the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE, or maybe an older phone like the Samsung Galaxy S10, while this phone isn't quite at that level, it definitely does compete and it's really not too far behind. And of course, in addition to this, as the name of the phone suggests, the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G does get 5G connectivity, so you're going to get access to your carrier's latest and greatest network. And while getting a 5G phone in 2022 isn't absolutely necessary, I do feel like at this point, if you're getting a new phone, you might as well just get a 5G phone, because in general, 5G is definitely the future, and the 5G network is getting more and more relevant. So if you really want to future-proof your device, getting a 5G phone is definitely a good idea. So in general, if you're looking for a fast 5G phone that's going to handle pretty much anything you throw at it, but maybe you don't quite want to spend the money on a full-on flagship phone, then the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G is going to be a great choice for you. Now my second reason to buy the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G in 2022 is the storage. So with this phone, we're getting 128GB of internal storage with microSD card expansion. So while it doesn't have 500GB like some of the flagship phones out there, with this phone, we're definitely getting a good amount of storage here. And in this day and age, with stuff like apps, files, and even the system itself taking up more and more space, it's really important to have extra storage. Now, if you're really a power user, if you have like 100GB of apps or something, then you're probably going to want a device that has even more storage. But for the average user, I would say 128GB is going to be plenty of storage. You're probably not even going to have to think about it. And even if you do, there is microSD card expansion as well, so you can always offload stuff like photos and videos. Now to give you an idea of what this storage looks like, right now I'm using 41.61GB, and as you can see, it's only taking up 32% of the total space. And I definitely do have a good amount of stuff on here, from the basic apps most people use on a daily basis, like social media, streaming platforms, all that, but I also have a good amount of games too. And as you can see right here, the system is actually taking up a decent amount of space itself at 23.27GB. So you can probably imagine if we only had 64GB, for example, we really wouldn't have a whole lot of room for much else. But luckily with this phone at 128GB, we got plenty of room, and honestly, you would have to be doing quite a bit to fill up all this space. And of course, remember, again, this phone does have microSD card expansion, so even if you do record a lot of 4K videos, for example, that take up a ton of space, you can always offload that stuff onto a microSD card and save even more space. So overall, whether you're an average user or even more of a heavy user, if you're looking for a phone with a lot of storage, then the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G is going to be a great choice. Now my third reason to buy the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G in 2022 is the camera. Now to give you a quick rundown of what cameras we got here, up front we got a nice looking hole punch design for the front facing camera, and this camera is 32 megapixels. Then on the back, we got a quad camera setup with a 108 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, a 5 megapixel macro camera, and a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera. For video, this phone can record in 4K in both the rear and front cameras, so if you like to record higher resolution videos, then you'll be happy to know you can do that with this phone. So in general, as far as features go, this phone has pretty much everything, so if you're taking lots of photos and you want a wider variety of features, then this is definitely going to be a great option. And in addition to this, the photo quality itself is great. With a 108 megapixel main camera, this phone can take some of the best photos among mid-range phones, phones. So again, if you are taking lots of photos, this is going to be a great thing. And even the ultra wide and macro cameras are really good quality as well. Now to give you an idea of what this camera can really do, here's a couple photos taken with the main camera. As you can see, the details are real sharp, the photo is nice and bright, and the colors look really good. So in general, if you're taking a lot of photos, maybe for social media for example, then this phone is going to be a great choice. And speaking of taking photos for social media, one feature that's real popular for stuff like Instagram for example is portrait mode. So here's a photo taken with portrait mode in the rear camera, and this picture turned out real nice. So if you really like to take photos with those nice blurred out backgrounds, then again, this phone will get the job done. Here's a couple photos taken with the ultra wide camera. Sure, there is a little distortion around the edges, which you can expect from pretty much any ultra wide camera, but in general, I do think the photos did turn out really nice. Now here's a 4K test video taken with the Samsung Galaxy A73. As you can see, the quality is again really good. So if you do like to take those higher resolution videos, or really any videos for that matter, then you're definitely going to be happy with this phone. So as you could see there, the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G not only has a bunch of different features, but the photo and video quality is also really good as well. Now of course, while these photos are good, they're obviously not going to be anywhere near the level of a $1,400 flagship phone, but at the same time, if you do like to take nice photos and videos, and you don't quite want to spend the money on a flagship phone, then I would say for a mid-range phone, this phone will be one of the better options. Now my fourth reason to buy the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G in 2022 is the display. So with this phone, we're getting a 6.7-inch 120Hz Super AMOLED Plus display with a resolution of 1080p and an aspect ratio of 20:9. So as far as displays go, this phone is great in pretty much every way. With the Super AMOLED Plus display, we're going to get some real bright and bold colors. The viewing angles are going to be great, so if you're outside or something like that, especially in the sun, you're still going to be able to see the screen perfectly fine. The 120Hz refresh rate is going to make the motion on the screen a lot faster and smoother, so if you're doing something like streaming videos, playing games, or pretty much anything with motion on the screen, you're going to get a much better experience. And when you're just navigating through the phone in general, it's going to feel a lot more premium. With the 1080p resolution, we're going to get a nice crisp image here. And of course, the size and dimensions are great as well. At 6.7 inches, while there are a couple phones out there that are a little bit bigger, this phone is around the size of the larger flagship phones. Like for example, it's pretty much the exact same size as the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And of course, having a larger display is always going to give you a much better experience when you're consuming content. And not only that, but with an aspect ratio of 20:9, we're getting a taller and more narrow form factor. So when you're doing stuff in landscape mode, you're going to get a much more immersive cinematic experience, and things are going to look and feel a lot nicer. And even if you're just reading or using social media, you'll be able to fit a lot more content on the screen without having to scroll as much. So overall, if you're looking for a mid-range phone with a large, high-quality display, then this phone is going to be among the best options. Now my fifth reason to buy the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G in 2022 is because it has NFC. Now in case you don't know what it is, NFC is the main technology behind contactless mobile payment services. So if you like to make payments using tap and pay, then you'll be happy to know you can do that with this phone. But those were 5 reasons to buy the Samsung Galaxy A73 5G in 2022. Now honestly, seeing that this is such a great phone, there are quite a bit more than 5 reasons to buy this phone. But of course, like with any phone, there are also plenty of reasons why you might not want it. So to learn more about this, be sure to check out my full review and other videos about it on the channel. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. But as always, I will see you in the next video.